Well, that was an interesting last scene. What's happening now? After the dust cleared following the Hamaguri rebellion, the shogun set about cleaning house. The Choshu expedition was launched by the shogun once the Choshu domain were declared enemies of the court. Perhaps feeling they dodged a bullet, the Choshu domain fell silent for a time. Their obedience was short-lived, however, and before long their disrespect for the shogun became impossible to ignore. In order to investigate further, the shogunate decided to send an envoy to the Choshu domain. Kondo was asked to accompany an envoy sent to the Choshu to investigate their behavior. However, the Choshu domain refused to even meet with the envoy. Fed up with their insubordination, the shogunate ordered the second Choshu expedition. However, the war was a costly one, exhausting both the resources and the men from all over the domains whose morale began to falter. To add to the fire, word of Shogun Iemochi's passing shook all of Japan, and some domains even withdrew, which made the situation even dire. The second Choshu expedition had ended in a surprisingly major loss for the shogunate troops. October 1866. The pillar of the Takeda shogunate, which stood strong for 260 years, was beginning to show signs of instability. Alright. So that's where we're at right now. Alright, so I'm with Saito, and we're gonna meet Sen. So we can skip ahead for a bit. And, I suppose Iba will probably show up sooner than I think, because that seems to be the general theme so far. I'm surprised how many scenes we've gotten with him. Totally okay with it, but pleasantly surprised. I thought we would be going through this route a lot faster, because he hasn't shown up most of the time in the other routes. But he proved me wrong. And we met yet another character last time, which was really interesting. Was not expecting that. Okay, it's time for the notice board stuff. That's right. That's what's up next, huh? What do I wanna think about notes? The Furies, apparently. Okay. We can think about the Furies. Whether this leads to anything with Iba, we'll find out. Alright, we're just gonna get threatened by Sanan. This is fine. My poor old boo Sanan. I'm not as scared of him anymore as I used to be. His route gave me some perspective. So, I'm glad I'm not as terrified of him as I used to be. Alright. So that's the notice board stuff. February 1867. We slow fade in again. I can't help but notice. Yes, we are. Alright. January 1867. Another new year was celebrated as the chilly Kyoto frost covered the city. I had to weave in and out of the mass of people so that I wouldn't be left behind. Even out here, there are so many people. Oh, we're with Kondo! That's nice!
Well, it is New Year's after all. There are so many people who are doing their rounds and paying their respects for the new year.
And, man, who are we with today?
Actually, it seems like most of these people are using that as an excuse to get drunk. Like those three.
Well, like I said, it's New Year's. It's well and good once in a while.
I wonder who those three could be. We had been heading back from performing our New Year's greetings. Nagakura, Harada, and Heisuke had come with us at the start, but they claimed they wanted to drop by somewhere, so sometime during the middle of it, they split ways. Just as Okita had been claiming, I'm sure they're out drinking. In the afternoon, no less. But why are we going to a temple that's so far away to do our New Year's prayers? Our headquarters is at the Nishihang Wanji Temple. Couldn't we have done it there?
Oh, yes, but I figured since it was New Year's, I wanted to pay my respects to the Kyoto temples that have always taken care of us.
See, just gotta do your rounds and work the crowds in a time like this. Well, guess you probably wouldn't get it.
Oh. As we continued talking, we were walking between the crowds of people. Ah! I had bumped into a person who was walking by. And it didn't end there. The passerby who bumped into me had dropped their bag and their coin scattered across the floor. I'm so sorry. I'll help you pick it up. And then I got separated. It was difficult picking up each individual coin as people were pacing all around us, but this is everything, right? I'm really sorry about that. I was able to pick everything up and I stood up. Huh? I noticed that Kondo and Okita were nowhere to be found. Oh no, we're a small woman lost in Kyoto. I felt myself turning white. What should I do? Although I'd grown closer to many of the warriors, still, I was a carrier of many Shinsengumi secrets, ones that could never be told to anyone. If they viewed this as me running away, they would kill me. I have to find them again as quickly as I can. Kondo! Okita! Where are you guys? Please answer me if you're nearby! I screamed, but it was pointless. Hordes of people were shuffling around me. My voice became muffled, almost threatened to be engulfed by everything around it. No, I mustn't give up. I must find them. I continued to walk amongst the people, looking for any sign of Kondo or Okita, but we always end up in back alleys. Girl, why don't you just go home? I couldn't find them anywhere, and eventually I had found myself around a back alley where there weren't many others around. God, I don't know what to do. At this rate. The worst-case scenario swirled repeatedly around in my head, and I froze from nervousness. Maybe I should head back to where a lot of people are congregating. If I hang around here for too long, I may have a run-in with someone unsightly or a Ronin. Yeah. Just as the thought had entered my mind.
Chizuru?
I heard a familiar voice, and I rushed to turn and find where it was coming from. There stood. Whew! Thank goodness. Iba! What are you doing here?
I could ask the same of you. What are you doing here alone? Where are the Shinsengumi men?
Well, I felt so relieved to see someone I knew again, and I explained to him what had just happened.
I see. Then I have no problem escorting you back to the headquarters to help explain the situation.
Are you sure?
Of course. I mean, we could always say that I found you and that I insisted on hanging out with you or something.
I don't think I could ask you to do such a thing. But still, thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
Anyway, let's walk back to the compounds. Nishihong Wanji is that way, I think.
Okay. I was so very grateful for Iba's kindness, and I began walking with him back. But he didn't explain why he was there. Iba? I don't think this is the direction towards the Nishihong Wanji.
We're taking the scenic route. Don't worry, I have no intentions of abducting you.
Why would you feel the need to say that, though? Alright, but where?
That's a surprise.
No matter how many times I had asked him, he dodged the question. Eventually, we'd arrived at... Oh my, you guys are cute. I'm taking you on a date! You two look really cute in this picture. This is so delicious! I was eating the treat he'd offered me, and I could feel its sweetness sticking throughout my mouth. Supposedly, it had originated in a Western country, and it was soft, spongy, and rich with egg flavor. I never tasted such a thing. I was so happy. I couldn't hide my elation, and I had a wide smile.
How is it, Chizuru? How does their castella taste?
Oh my gosh, it's so delicious!
I'm glad. I've always wanted you to try some.
Iba looked even happier than I was, and he had a wide-eyed grin as we sat together. As I savored the castella, I calmed down and asked Iba something I'd been curious about. But why did you bring me here? I think we could have headed to the compounds from there, but it feels like we took a longer route. Iba looked at me like I'd stumbled upon his birthday celebration, eager for me to join in.
Can't I just enjoy the pleasure of having a moment with you to take a stroll and enjoy a fine snack?
Well, I didn't think Hijikata would have been strict towards Iba's desires, but I wondered, was it really alright to do so? I mean, he was going to take me back to the compounds no matter what, so I couldn't really insist on hurrying, but...
It'll be quite alright. If they make a mention of it, we will make sure they know that it is all my fault.
As Iba was speaking, something crossed my mind. Now that I think of it, didn't you try and take me out like this before? In a period where I'd become depressed at the lack of clues surrounding my father's whereabouts. Iba had asked Inoue about taking me out in order to get my mind off of the situation.
Ah, yes, that's right, isn't it? But you turned me down back then. But this time, you were able to enjoy some delicious sweets with me. I guess I can take this as us taking the next step, eh?
The next step of what, Mr. Iba? What next step? Was he being completely serious? So, anyway, it's a nice day outside.
So, how have the compounds been recently? How is Toshi?
Oh, let's see. Hijikata is just his usual self, I suppose. By next step, I assumed he meant maybe in terms of our relationship growing a bit. It sort of threw me off at first, almost as if my heart had skipped a beat. We had finished our tea, and then we caught up with one another's recent activities. Although I didn't quite remember all of the details myself, maybe our kinship came from the fact that we'd befriended each other as children. But nonetheless, Iba had an ear for listening, and I found it incredibly easy to speak with him. That's nice. Oh, I've never seen this before. After we had left the cafe, Iba led me back to the lively Shimabara street. Oh, yes.
What's the matter?
I hesitated to speak up out of fear for ruining the moment we were having. However, I felt like he deserved to know. Oh. Supposedly, Takeda is quitting the Shinsengumi. As soon as I'd mentioned Takeda's name, Iba's expression turned dubious.
He is.
Yes, according to the story, he received a message from his hometown and he decided to return home. Is he not going to join Ito this time around? Iba gazed suspiciously at the ground before muttering out loud.
I wonder if that's true.
What?
Well, if he's really returning home as he says, then it's fine. But I wonder how much truth there is to it.
Now that he mentioned it, there wasn't any real proof that Takeda was speaking the truth. I mean, it is Takeda. It seemed as though he had gradually lost his place in the Shinsengumi. It wouldn't surprise me if this was all a lie to get himself out of the Shinsengumi. Maybe Iba noticed me thinking deeply. He then shifted his tone to a light-hearted one.
Well, even if he's plotting something, I don't see Toshi letting that go unnoticed.
You're right. I'm sure Hijikata knows well of Takeda's current situation. If Takeda really was plotting something bad, then Hijikata likely already had some countermeasures planned in advance. Just then.
Hey, is that you, Chizuru?
That voice. I wondered if it was Sen. I'm like, I hope it's not Kaoru.
It really is you, Chizuru. What are you doing here? If you were going to visit Shimabara, why didn't you get into contact with me?
Sen. Sen noticed Iba beside me, and for a second her eyes grew wide. Yo, girl. Do you know that you are with a very attractive man over there? Then she whispered to me.
Hello, who do we have here? He's so gorgeous, he could be an actor. Are you on a date? Date? No, it's nothing like that. Aw, you're not? But he's not a Shinsengumi warrior either, right? I have yet to see a warrior of the Shinsengumi that is as refined as he is.
I wasn't sure how to introduce Iba to her. I like that she immediately picked up on like, yo girl, you on a date right now? High five. So his name is Iba. He's a Hatamoto of the Shogunate. He's known the men of the Shinsengumi for a long time.
Well, her introduction isn't wrong.
For some reason, Iba looked a little sad. This is my boyfriend. Then he turned to Sen.
I'm the Yokozume of the Shogun, Hachiro Iba. I've been her friend since childhood as well.
Thanks for the introduction. I'm Sen. As you could tell, I'm a friend of hers. Anyways, are you an actual Yokozume? Is it alright for you to be walking around like this, casually, despite your status?
Well, technically, I am also overseeing Kyoto. Although this is strictly personal.
I see.
Sen muttered and then stared at Iba. I stared back at her as she stood with intensity. Had Iba said something that bothered her?
I was wondering what she was doing with someone who wasn't a part of the Shinsengumi. Wondering why, to myself, she was with you, but... For now, at least, you do not seem to be someone who will do her harm. To this, I am relieved.
After a moment, Sen turned to face and speak with me.
So, how have you been lately? Have the men of the Shinsengumi been causing you trouble?
No, nothing like that. But then I stopped myself. Of course the men wouldn't be bullying me, but... Speaking apart from myself, the Shinsengumi had not been doing too well. Because of the second Choshu expedition's failure, the Choshu had been steadily gaining more and more power. Additionally, the Satsuma had been active, moving to a degree that it was necessary to set off Shinsengumi scouts with rumors floating about their suspicious acts. And finally, a new shogun had been appointed after nearly half a year passing since the death of the previous late shogun. Even within the Shinsengumi, it seemed as if Ito's faction was causing friction and trouble among the other warriors. To top it off, Takeda was leaving the Shinsengumi. There were just so many seeds of worry. I couldn't bring myself to tell her that everything seemed to be falling apart. As I stood there, Iba put his hands on my shoulder.
Everything will be alright. I'm here in Kyoto for you as well, so if anything were to happen, you could speak to me at any time. I do intend on keeping my promise of being strong enough to protect you.
Iba. He was always beaming with courteousness. Thanks to his words of assurance, I could feel my worries melt into the soft of his hands on my back. Wow. However, Sen looked at him sharply, almost as if she were glaring at him. Do you sense a demon within, by any chance, Sen? I wonder. That would be really interesting. She might be like, got them vibes.
Do you really mean that?
Sen? I could sense something was off from the vigor of her attitude, so I couldn't help but turn around to look at her after she asked that. Sen burrowed her eyes deep into Iba, speaking with confidence.
The fate she carries hold a lot more weight than she even knows. And those who are after her are way more powerful than you could ever imagine.
For a moment, Iba gazed deeply into her eyes, and he didn't break his stare in return.
Sen, was it? What do you know?
I can't answer that. All I want to do is ask you one thing. Can you really protect her? Chizuru, that is.
Neither looked willing to budge from their stares. Eventually, Iba broke the silence.
There's a reason for me to protect her.
His bright, clear eyes suddenly faced me.
Even if you don't remember it.
Huh? I didn't quite understand what he meant by that at first, and all I could do was blink. What did he mean? What are Iba and Sen even talking about? There's definitely more than just, we're childhood friends that grew up together. Are you like a demon, part of a demon clan that was sworn to servitude of the Yukimura? Like, protecting her? That would be really interesting.
Sen eventually softened up a little. I see. Just don't forget what promise you made just now. As long as you vow to keep your promise, I too shall help you.
Sen? I rushed to butt in, but... She turned, walking off into the cold evening without so much as a word. These demons. What in the world was going on? Iba and Sen seemed to be talking about me, but... without the total context of their conversation, the key words that stuck out to me were... yeah, I mean, fate carrying more weight is interesting, but I need to know about my boo. I timidly approached him and he turned around. You just said that there was a reason for you to protect me. What did you mean by that? I have no reason for you to. Of course, we were childhood friends, but I don't think that's enough of an excuse for him to risk his life to protect me. But Iba... yeah, come on. Spill them beans.
I do have a reason. There's reason enough for me that I would be willing to risk everything I am to protect you.
What? He said it without hesitation, and I was at loss for words. Is it because we're childhood friends? For a brief second, Eva's eyes were forlorn. Yeah, like, is he a protector? Was he betrothed to her long ago? I have so many questions.
Do you think that is all?
I don't. I was sure that wasn't the only reason. Even if he was a samurai, putting one's life on the line to protect someone meant the biggest sacrifice one could make. That went for the shogunate, one's master, or anything close to this power dynamic to justify it. But a friendship formed during one's childhood shouldn't be enough reason to devote one's life to their friend's protection. So why? I don't know. If there's other reasons, please tell me. Iba looked like he thought about it for a second, and then...
I won't tell you. Why don't you think on it?
Huh? What? Iba had normally been so kind, but today his mood wasn't as nice. It took me by surprise. What do you mean you won't tell me?
It's not fair for you to constantly make me wait, like you do. Besides, one could say it is deserved. A little payback, if you will, for not remembering our childhood, right?
Wow. Alright. You're like, look, I remembered you, you don't remember a thing about me. If you want answers, you gotta make an effort in this relationship. I can respect that. I was caught completely off guard, but Eva just began to laugh.
Well, never mind. Maybe we should head out. I would like to spend more time with you, but I'm sure it'll be an issue if you come back late.
Wait, Iba! Iba escorted me back to the main street. The large crowds of people from earlier had died down significantly.
Oh look, Chizuru, over there.
Huh? I was looking in the direction that Iba was motioning me towards when... Aw, Kondo's been like, I lost her! Oh my god, I failed as a father. Meanwhile, Soji's just like, good grief, this girl, I'm gonna kill her.
Yukimura!
Kondo! Okita!
Oh, I am so glad. We had lost sight of you, so we thought you were abducted by one of those demons.
I was abducted by two, actually. if my theory is correct. Aw, how boring. I wanted to see you freak out from being separated from us. It happened.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Okita glared coolly at Iba. So, they got Okizumi finding lost children now? Or are you so bored that you go looking for them? Wow, Soji is so aggro towards this guy. Hey, Iba! A person had weaved through a small gathering of people to approach us. This person is. Yeah, expected you.
Oh, Motoyama, what's the matter? You seem to be out of breath.
Don't give me that! Do you have any clue how long I spent running around looking for you?
Quite a while, I assume?
Don't act like it's nothing! Ugh, the minute you saw a person that resembled Yukimura, you just ran off. As soon as those words were said, Okita smirked. That's my boy. Is that so? The minute he saw this kid, huh? What's going on there, Iba?
Oh,
Iba attempted to stand straight and act with decorum in response to Okita, but instead he just played it off and turned towards Motoyama.
Anyways, we were just doing our rounds to share some New Year's greetings with everyone.
What? New Year's greetings? You waste all this time and now you want to do greetings?
Let's be off. Excuse us, Kondo, Okita. We'll drop by the compounds another day.
Come on, man. Iba grabbed the tired Motoyama and disappeared into the crowd of people. I see. I can't tell if this was scripted or not. Iba's a sharp cat. Huh? I wasn't sure what Okita was trying to get at, but either way, I was happy I was able to see Iba on New Year's. There was so much to be concerned about, but I hope we'll have a good year this time. Wouldn't count on it, girl. Wouldn't count on it. Ooh, and now it's chapter 4. Alright. Well, let's check in on this guy, shall we? See where we are at. We're in full bloom at the beginning of chapter 4? Good grief. Alright, well, let's spend time with our boy, who's extremely clever and sees through nonsense. Oh, Soji, if only you could explain some things to this girl. She could use all the help. She's just like, huh? What? I don't get it. Right. Well, that was very interesting with Sen and Iba. I have been curious exactly how much he's known. Alright, Fury attack. It's almost time to say goodbye to everybody. I swear Hachiro better not show up now, because then I'm just gonna be like, how are you always around? There's no way. Okay. Thank you, Toshi, for giving me some semblance of normality. Okay. So this is gonna be the same old, which is good stuff. It'll be interesting to see if Takeda left before now, or if he still left with Ito. I'm curious. Okay, so you guys are still leaving. Good, good. What am I gonna think about and talk to and stuff? So I'm gonna be worried about the soldiers and someone high-ranking. Okay. We can do that. And then I do want to see if Takeda left with him. Instead of using his, lame excuse of family. Alright, so the soldiers, right? Yep. And someone high-ranking. Okay, so we're talking to Toshi about it. That is okay, we can do that. Oh. Go on. After some time had passed... Oh. As I walked through a hallway, I stopped to notice something. I wonder how they landed all the way in here. Maybe they got stuck in someone's sandal? It was the time of the year in which, no matter how often I had cleaned, the spring winds seemed to invite an endless flow of blossom petals. Watching the blossom petals that were scattered across the floor without a hint of their scent. I couldn't help but remember the ache of the goodbye shared all those days ago. How was Heisuke doing? Eating meals without him was so much more quiet. It was almost as if the lanterns were out. I wondered how Saito had been doing too. At first I had found him a little intimidating because he didn't speak often, but after spending some time with him, I'd learned that he actually cares for everyone's well-being, and he had shown me bouts of tender kindness. You're making me sad. I took for granted the fact that these men were not always going to be here. I had no idea that it would feel so lonely without them. I shook my head, stopping myself. I can't be thinking like this. There was no doubt in my mind that the other warriors had been feeling even more sadness than I was. I thought to myself that perhaps occupying my time with cleaning the compounds would put my mind at ease. It was good to start with the common room. I slid the door open casually, but then I froze upon seeing the person standing on the other side. The reason being that it was... Hello again.
Oh, it's you. Yukimura.
Takeda. My heart was startled by the creepiness of his expression. That's just his face. Eva had suggested to me that it was best not to find myself alone with Takeda, if at all possible. He was going to leave the Shinsengumi soon, so I didn't think he would have been in the habit of starting any conflicts on his way out, but I found him antagonistic time and time again, so I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable around him.
You don't have to keep your guard up, you know. I'm not a Shinsengumi captain anymore, so I don't plan on doing anything to you.
I couldn't really take him up on his word, but it wasn't like I could just pretend he doesn't exist. So I asked him a question while keeping my wits about me. What are you doing here, Takeda?
Well, I figured that this will be the last time I see any of this stuff. So I was just standing here to soak in all of the memories I've made.
He looked around the compounds with a somber face, his eyes scanning slowly.
I think it was spring, too, when we moved to the Nishi Hongwanji Temple. Back then, I never anticipated myself leaving the Shinsengumi.
Takeda looked close to tears, lost in faint memory. Since there were many times that I'd had trouble with him, I had mixed feelings about his departure. But to his credit, I knew that when he came to Kyoto, he did so with a head full of dreams about the future. Suddenly, I felt the way I did when Saito and Heisuke left as well. It was a melancholic feeling to part with people who worked beside you day in and day out. As I noticed Takeda's eyes thin, I watched as he moved with uncertainty, pacing as if he truly didn't want to leave before turning to face me.
Well, I'll be on my way then.
With that said, he marched on as if he was pushing all of his feelings aside for the sake of pride. Even though the room was empty again, I felt stuck, unable to move as I contemplated the moment.